If you're tired of feeling blue because your cocktails are looking anything but, then today's episode is just for you. Because today we're going to be teaching you how to formulate a Blue Curaçao that's worthy of even the finest craft cocktail. Welcome to Cocktail Limelight. I'm your host, Erick Castro, and today we're going to be exploring the rainbow. By that, I just want to let you know that there's no reason to feel blue just because your drink is. But before we get into it, first let me tell you a story about why I even bothered to batch a house Blue Curaçao. In my bars, over the years, we've had groups of people that would come in and ask for cocktails that wouldn't conventionally be ordered at a craft cocktail bar. And since we aim to make the absolute best drinks we can no matter what, it always irked me that sometimes we didn't have the ingredients to make some of these drinks. And it really hit a boiling point around 2013 when Polite Provisions started doing a tiki night and we didn't have Blue Curaçao to satisfy the people who were looking for Blue Hawaiis. Now, I never really saw the Blue Hawaii as a tiki drink. To me, it was always more tropical, but never forget that one person's tropical is another person's tiki. And it really frustrated my staff and I that we couldn't offer the drink in its famous, or rather infamous, signature blue. And while there are now some easy to obtain quality Blue Curaçaos on the market, this was nearly 10 years ago. So back then we didn't have a lot of options, especially not here in the US. Because you see, for years, Blue Curaçao wasn't really taken seriously by hardcore cocktail enthusiasts. And for good reason. That's because a lot of the versions out there available for purchase were very subpar and mediocre quality. In other words, you have to trade the quality of the drink for the presentation of the drink, which was the devil's bargain. By the way, Devil's Bargain would be a really great name for a cocktail. Anyone out there? Have at it. This choice is what led us to create our own batched house Blue Curaçao. So if you want to make blue drinks to your heart's content, then this is one of the best ways to do that while still delivering quality across the board. Whipping this up is super easy and it gives drinks exactly the shade of blue that you're looking for. And I know that there are going to be purists out there complaining and saying that this isn't really craft because you're adding artificial coloring to it. Well, if that's the case, then I have something to tell you about your favorite scotch and your favorite Amaro. And look, I'm not trying to throw shade. All I'm basically saying is just because we take our cocktails seriously doesn't mean that we have to take ourselves too seriously as well. And you know why? Because blue drinks are awesome, full stop. And since we're talking blue drinks, we have to start with the granddaddy of them all, and that's the Blue Hawaii. But first things first, let's go and whip up a batch of this Blue Curaçao before we start. First, we're gonna start out with a 1/4 teaspoon of blue food coloring. And remember, this stuff will stain your clothes in a way that no amount of club soda and salt will get out, so be very careful when handling. Now this should give the final mixture a super deep blue color, perhaps even too blue depending on which brand of food coloring you use. So I like to start at a 1/4 teaspoon, but based on the brand, you might have to either pull back a little bit or add more. So that might be something that you want to keep in mind, and you might have to add a touch more. But as I mentioned, a 1/4 teaspoon seems to be a good baseline and place to start. Next, I'm going to be adding 3/4 cup white simple syrup. And this is a 1-to-1. Using white sugar to hot water. And lastly, we're going to be topping this off with a cup of orange liqueur that's clocking in at around 40% ABV. A couple good examples of brands to reach for are Cointreau or Pierre Ferrand Dry Curaçao. In addition, you might want to stay away from any orange liqueur that has too much color already, as it might affect the vibrancy of the blue that you're trying to achieve. Now, to make sure that everything's stirred up and is in solution as we want it, let's go ahead and give it a good stir. And to do that, I'm going to be using about the cutest little whisk you've ever seen. Isn't this little guy adorable? Look at that thing. I don't even know how practical it is. It's just I saw it and it was so small, I just wanted to use it. Now, this final result should clock in somewhere around 23% ABV, which is perfect because it's in line with a lot of popular liqueurs out there, which makes it kind of easy to plug and play in some of your favorite drinks. Now let's go ahead and bottle this up and label it. As you can see, I'm all about labeling ingredients in my bars, but to be fair, if you were to forget, I mean, it's freaking blue. What else could it be? But moving along, let's go ahead and put in a cocktail. And that cocktail is gonna be the Blue Hawaii. Not to be confused with the Blue Hawaiian, which is a completely different drink altogether. And you know what, maybe we'll actually address that in a future episode of Cocktail Limelight. But for now, let's stick to the task at hand. The Blue Hawaii was created by legendary bartender Erick Castro of the Hawaiian Village Hotel back in 1957. And believe it or not, this cocktail's not named after the Elvis movie, which I always thought was the case, but the movie actually didn't come out for several years after the cocktail was invented. Instead, this cocktail was named after a Bing Crosby song, which seems kind of weird, right? But then again, who am I to judge? I've named drinks after way mellower things than the soothing music of crooner Bing Crosby. The story goes that Bowles was eager to boost sales of its Blue Curaçao, so Yee invented this cocktail to help them achieve that. And looking back, it seems to have done exactly that. Because as the drink grew in popularity, that meant that every bar now had to stock Blue Curaçao in order to satisfy the guests that ordered it. Which in many ways kind of goes full circle and starts with how I ended up in this predicament in the first place, right? The more I think about this story and the more I think about how Blue Curaçao exploded based on the popularity of this drink, it really makes me hope that Mr. Yee actually got some sort of consulting fee for his work. I mean, it just kind of seems right. And you know me, I'm all about bartenders getting paid, so get that money, boo. Ain't no shame. Naturally, the ingredient ended up finding its way into everything from the adios motherfucker to freaking blue margaritas. Is it weird that I said motherfucker and freaking in the same sentence? And this didn't die out for a long time, because now that I think about it, when I first started bartending about 20 years ago, I remember making a lot of blue margaritas, and I don't really know why, because I don't think it was even on our menu. It was just the era, and that's what people were all about. They wanted their drinks as blue as possible. And you know what? God bless them. Though to be fair, I have a feeling that their version of Blue Hawaii isn't gonna be quite as good as the one that we're gonna make today. But better late than never. And remember, if we didn't have Blue Curaçao, then we probably never would have gotten Island Blue Pucker, and then where would we be today? But I digress. Let's go ahead and make a Blue Hawaii. First, we're gonna start out with 3/4 ounce fresh lemon juice, followed up with an ounce of fresh pineapple. Next, we're gonna add a 1/2 ounce of simple syrup, along with a 1/2 ounce of our batched Blue Curaçao. Next, we're gonna be adding 1 ounce of vodka and an ounce of white rum. But since vodka is so neutral, I figured we could kick things up with a little bit of Jamaican overproof. But if you prefer something tamer, by all means, a more conventional white rum works just as well. Now let's go ahead and add some ice and give it a good shake. Now let's go ahead and grab a chilled Hurricane or Poco Grande, whatever you call it. And there you go, folks, a Blue Hawaii made with just as much love and care as any other cocktail that's passing the bar at your favorite craft cocktail spot. And now it's just about ready to go, but first we need to garnish it. And when you're garnishing a blue drink, by all means, please feel free to go as over the top and obnoxious as possible. I mean, it's only appropriate, right? So for this, we're gonna do a straw, a pineapple wedge, an orange slice, some cherries, and a parasol. Remember folks, it's not an umbrella. An umbrella blocks the rain, a parasol blocks the sun. And you know what? While we're at it, let's just throw a little plastic reusable palm tree in there as well. Now let's give it a sip. Something tells me that Harold K. Yee's heart fills with joy every time a bartender sends out one of his cocktails. As he should, as it feels good to know that bartenders today are playing a part in carrying on his legacy and making his drinks with every bit as much care and attention to detail as they were when he made them back in 1957. All right, everybody, there you have it, the Blue Hawaii. And I just want to let you know that I had a lot of fun exploring one of my favorite cocktails that I feel doesn't get the respect that it deserves. And with that in mind, are there any cocktails out there that you feel don't get the love and attention they deserve from today's cocktail aficionado? If so, leave in the comments down below, and who knows, maybe we can explore it in a future episode of Cocktail Limelight. And with that said, don't forget to muddle that like and subscribe button. And if you want to dive deeper into the world of craft cocktails with me, be sure to check out the Bartender Large podcast, which I host on iTunes, Spotify, and anywhere else where quality podcasts are found. And with that said, thank y'all so much for tuning in, and we will see you again next week. Look at it, it's cute.